In so many ways, we go back to original of the teaching. If we go back to very original teachings, go back to when we said we have the sun, we have the earth. We have in this process creation of the fields, where the position is dictated, the distance is confirmed. On this layer is not just one, but you have the magnetical, the same as gravitational, leaning against each other, where there are 8 field forces existing, but we only consider the one which is forwarding to the other, but the other exists because without it the field force cannot operate in. So in a way, if you look at it, is when you drill a hole into a wood, you find your way to go through, but you have these chip parts which comes out of the matter state and we collect it as a dust. In the world of gravitational magnetic field, these dusts is gathered by the back line, which by collecting it, it increases its strength, that at the point of inception, interaction between the fields, it reaches the balance of the other. But because we don't see it, we never consider it. In the matter state, we collect the dust. In the plasma state, the gravitational field strength which the magnetical is coming out of is collecting the energy. That's why it increases itself. That's why it feeds back to it. And at the point when it reaches the gravitation of the other, the balance is created. This is what has never been understood, and I'll keep on repeating till one day somebody understands. There is no wastage, there is no leftover. Somebody will come and collect the dust. The system, because it created out of itself, it absorbs its residue and make it to become part of its gravitational. Look at the Alex bits, look at the gravitational magnetic coils. We have repeated the same thing. The feedback is collection of the residuals, which in the matter state, we drill it and we throw it away. We cut through a mountain, we got a hole, we go forward, but we discard the stone and the mortar which comes out of the tunnel. In the world of plasma, all this because it's created of the same self. If you go back to the teaching, we always said that plasma is both gravitational and magnetical. So as one loses, the other one gains, because it has somewhere in its spectrum part of what the other one is releasing. This is how the world of science works. This is how the world of plasma works. And up to now, and every time we teach, it has been discarded. We always look what we gain, how far do we go? We can't go any further if we don't collect what we already have destroyed and part of it. We take energy of the other. So if you take all the dust and put it back in the tunnel is made. Now it's not there, there's more of it for the gravitational to feed. This is what I keep on saying. We need to go to understand more in depth, then the understanding of science of creation becomes pleasure. We always say in our teachings, when the field forces of the planet and the sun interact, at the point of interaction, you create what you call the matters of the planet. Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, helium. Huge amount of helium is produced in upper layers of the atmosphere. But through the centralization and the compression and gravitational magnetic field of the vacuum, or lesser strength, what we call vacuum, it converts itself to feel the strength of the hydrogen and energy for production of oxygen or reduction in carbon, where the nitrogen as a centralizer releases the energy needed. What happens? Now we understand for the first time in the teaching of the past that the life of the man starts in the what we call the gaseous part of the planet. What is important is that this gaseous part itself is the gaseous part itself. It radiates and receives. It is created out of the inner structure, but this inner structure has a field and matter state. The same process as what we see in the interaction of the fields of the two field forces of the Earth and the Sun now appears and takes place between the plasmatic fields of the Earth and the materials which are created. This leading to creation of what we call the gaseous part, interaction of the fields with each other, which is called the amino acid. Now, as we said before many times, the physical part itself has different structures, which is, one is the solid part, outer part, and one is the liquid part, which we see as the waters of the oceans and the sea. When this gaseous creation, the amino acid, interacts with the solid part, a new kind of life is created which is blind to the science of man. In the future we explain. In the interaction of the gaseous part, the amino acid, with the water part, we see the creation of new interactions. A coexistence, a co-interaction, a co-partnership, whatever you want to call this, takes place. Now we have the amino acid, and now we have the water, which itself has the possibility of creation, of weakening or creating a field strength of the system. We have problem here, it's just getting the same thing back again. So we have the amino acid now enters the liquid of the water. Now it is not in a free space of the gas motion, is in a thicker interaction of the water molecular structure, gravitational magnetic field. You have to remember a very fundamental important note, and that is the water on the surface of the planet manifests itself, behaves itself as a matter state in respect to gravitational magnetic field of its atmosphere. But in reality, because it's in the plasmatic condition of the solar system, it still behaves in a Ganser state in respect to the strength of the solar system gravitational magnetic field. So if you understand this, you will realize one fundamental point, that the waters in the oceans and the seas in a certain parts, and most of the parts are exactly in the CO2 box of the universe, or CO2 box of the planet, where this water exists. Now the solid part has created matters for itself that in the liquid part are soluble, like sodium. So now the salt of the sea gives you, in the presence of the water, the condition of your CO2 box. You have a gas pot. You call it the oceans, you call it the seas. You have seen how you can produce different gases in the pot, depending what elements you have inserted inside the pot. With the rains and the storms and the washing of the sand and the solid matter states, rubbing of the stones on top of each other, rubbing of the gold and the silver and iron and copper, rolling down through the rain to become a dust. This pot has millions and billions and trillions of particles. Now you have seen, you had the salt, the sea, the amino acid, and the matter state in the nano state gas particles. So you add, let's say, zinc to it. Now in another part, the same thing comes and you add copper to it. Too similar to each other. Easy to make the link. Now you have amino acid of the zinc, amino acid of the copper. The two entities entangle, so the life becomes in conjunction. Somewhere else, the amino acid of interaction with the salt water, with the addition of what we had, the sodium, where we missed here, with the iron, leads to creation of what you call hemoglobin. A magnetically thrown condition in respect to the Earth's gravitational magnetic field. The only entity which in the solid state on the gravitational field strength of the Earth creates levitation. So in the interaction of the two, the zinc and the copper, now you find yourself in circulation of the flow of the fields, what you call the hemoglobin, or what we call blood. Because you have to understand, if you look at the top of your gas boxes, the protein is flat. In the interaction and creation of the field of the plasma of the hemoglobin, it becomes encircled. Now you have what you see as the zinc, and you see the copper. And this is how blood vessels are created in the body of the man. That's why blood flows in the body of the man. Due to its gravitational field forces imbalance on this planet, to iron, it keeps its levitation in respect to the other fields. And once it's created, it's self-sustaining. Means you can take man to anywhere in the universe. It is inside the cell of the structure of the human being, and its gravitational magnetic field strength. That's why when you bleed, it comes out of this environment, it solidifies. because it's a different strength. Now you understand, is adding of different strength fields makes heart tissue, makes lung tissue, makes brain cells, depending on the ratio of it, depending on the salinity of the salt, depending on which kind of salt exists. And now the game of life starts. The question is, if you understood this, is there a creator? Or is it the weakness of the man in his own creation that has brought him to the demise of the creating of the God? I'm made man in the image of myself. If my image is strong, it reflects the man as a strong. Where did the creator come to it? Did he come and measure how much oxygen there will be in the atmosphere? How much nitrogen? How much I'm going to feel created? Is the creator the limitation of understanding of the man of his own creation? The reason I teach this way is because when the man understands the truth in the depth of the space, man cannot be abused, as he understands the limitation of his understanding is the cause of his development. Then the man does not believe in fallacies, because he can analyze, he can understand the condition. When somebody tells you in the deepest space, I am this and that, you analyze, how is this sky created? Can I repeat it? And if I can repeat it and understand his way, he's not the creator. It's my weakness which allows him to be. There is no abuser if you allow the abuse. Religions are abuse of the man's weakness, his own understanding of his own creation. In one page, I have explained the whole process of the creation from fields to man. Is there a creator? This page is the history of man on this planet. This is the history of creation on this planet, and it replicates itself anywhere in the universe. Now you have to go back to what John showed. Adjust some fields, create different dimension of the strength. Then you'll find the gravitational magnetic field point, absorption of the crumbs becomes the liver, storing the leftovers. Creating fields inside it to be able to be balanced, equal to calcium, sodium, or whatever else. Liver is the storage, is the warehouse. You create a system that those who passed or are too weak needs to be extracted. You call them kidneys. As you take solid matter, at this point, you need to extract after conversion to be able. If you block it, there will be nothing more coming in, because the life finds its balance. You have created the bigger intestine, the large intestine, another disposable unit. You have stored energy in its operation to know what needs to be done in respect to what. You created a computer center by different strength, gravitational magnetic field of salt of different strength in salinity. You create created a computer, the brain of the man. Then you have divided the control in a way that it can be done central computerized to little stations that they can do their operation and reporting now and then to the headquarters. You call it the glands. You need to use to feed, to run this operation through its electrical magnetic field, as you want to call it, the current flow system, your wiring. To do with the matter state of it, you call it blood. To do with its emotional, which is a central computer communication line, you call it neurosystem. You need to be able to be mobiling the system, that it can have access to plenty, that it can regenerate as much as you like. You call it legs and arms. There is nothing to the body of the man. It's a mechanical system which has seen how to adapt itself to its creation. You change the gravitational magnetic field of one of the parameters of the body of the man, you can get man to live anywhere in the universe. Still with the emotion of the man, but in physicality of the destination. But the whole system needs concentration, that the physicality and the emotion, which is the control system, are operated and receive the same amount. You call it the soul of the man. The central energy both for emotion and the physicality. So, is there a creator? Does the man has to be fooled with a cross? Does a man needs to be fooled with the Star of David? Or with the moon? Or with any other thing? To confirm his own weakness of understanding of his creation? Or man becomes strong enough that from what is learned in the depth of space, he shall not be used. To be the man of space, you need to understand the reality of space. You need to understand the whole process, that you shall not see no church, no mosques, no temples anywhere across the universe. As you understand the reality. And then by being in that position, you see a bigger picture of the creation of the whole universe. As I said, on this page, we have brought the whole creation of man, or being on this planet. With changing of little strength or little material, you make life vertical, you make the life horizontal, you change one of the parameters, you make it a dog, or you make it the apple tree. You change, slide another parameter, you make it a cat, and you make an orange tree. The reality is that the fundamental understanding of the creation cannot be changed. Did it exist, an apple tree, billions of years ago? Or due to the changes of the atmospheric positioning of the planet, it allowed the creation of the apple? This is what we need to understand. We need to understand the process in its totality, that in the deeper space the man is about to enter, and partially somehow do not get fooled and taken as a slave. As I said, I take man to space with a full knowledge that it will enter the universal community as equal partner and not a subordinate. An understanding of this process is fundamental, that man does not become subordinate to the others due to lack of his own understanding of his own creation. The fundamental point is to understand what gives and what takes, what allows and how much, what creates a condition of the interaction, and when you don't see it, where it is that it doesn't become a magic. When you don't see this return line, then you wonder how this goes. But if you find the return line and understand the process of the strength of the return line, there is no magic. The life of the universe is very simple. It's a loop. Nothing else. And the loop you see very clearly, very, very clearly. It needs the existence of the both. One on a strength appears to be of the other. When you understand this, you understand why our work with the Chinese has a lot of meaning. Yin and yang. Yin and yang. Each one has to be connected to the other to bring balance in the creation. And there is no point of change. Is the exchange in the strength where it becomes balanced to be accepted by the others in the field of their attraction. In so many ways, the full understanding of the science of plasma in its entirety, by let's say 60%, has understood by the Chinese culture. And those who follow it, they see a lot of things. They see a lot of pathways. They see passage through other points. In Abrahism pathway, again, what we receive, we don't see that what we receive is what we have put out. We always unbalanced in our judgment. Be it on every level, because this way we can be abused. When you don't see the other hand putting the money in the pocket when you're playing magic, the money has disappeared, but you didn't see the move, because you are not at the visual strength to see the hand went in the pocket and left the money in there and it shows a free hand. It's your job to find the pocket. And when you understand the pocket is there, you understand the full circle. Creation of life in the universe is as simple as ABC. Is the man who misses the B and sees A and C and just wondered how it's happened. The man does not see the link. And when the man does not see the link, is open to views in space. Any questions? And please keep it to the teaching.
Mr. Keshe, Akshar has asked earlier in the Q&A, or asked the two questions. Our soul is grown by elder souls. Our physicality comes from our environment.
Physicality comes from our environment.
I think you've established that in the last little while here, yes.
Connection of the soul is not elder. Yeah. The establishment, what you call all the leads to the creation of the man. And that is, as you've seen, the amino acid led in interaction with the salt and the water, a condition, we call it life as we see it. Look at the way the red muscle tissue is created and the white muscle tissue created. Why the birds have both white and black or dark meat. Look why the creations on this planet, which are on four legs, have a red blood cells or a red meat. Look why the fish carries a white meat. Understand these are all due to the interaction of environmental, gravitational, plasmatic, magnetic fields. In the liquid of the water, different structure is created. Look at the structure of the body of a fish. You don't see muscles. You see layering because the flexibility is there to do. The plasmatic field of the water creates that. Look at the structure of the, let's say, the dog or a man. We need different because the atmosphere has changed the condition. So the next step addition is, we are not created each time out of nowhere. We don't fall out of the, what we call the basket of the bird. We are created out of interaction of the cells which have created their own memory. So in that level, what is been stored in the memory bank or the energy of the cell of the father and the mother, it becomes a central bank to the new life. There is a important thing to remember, again going beyond the matter of physicality, but understanding the totality. As human being, we have one illusion and one fallacy, that we only store what we see or what we hear or what we feel. Understand the span of what you call the aura of the man. A man who existed in time of Christ on the other part of the world has received the message the same as the man who stood next to Christ. He chose not to hear because he could not see the man and the reaction. Many people who were at the strength of the understanding of the teaching of the Christ bless his name, lived a Christian life without ever knowing about Christianity, because they received it through the fields of the planet, through the fields of the existence of the soul of the Christ. So in the memory bank of their soul, in the memory bank of what we transferred to us, even though they were born in, let's say, South America at the time, they still, if you go in the depth of the knowledge of their existence, they've heard the message. So the soul of the entity of the man on this planet hears everything, gathers everything, and it becomes part of the next generation. Then, is there, do we, is it possible that we are reincarnated, we are done this and that? No. We carry the accumulation of the knowledge of the past in our soul, in what we've been given. The sperm and the egg are the hard disk. The soul of the man is the information on the hard disk. It cannot be erased. Does not matter how the hard disk shows itself. If you go back and understand this, man or being somewhere in one point to the other, saw the interaction of singularity as too much. As when you are, for example, pregnant, it's very hard to go hunt to feed the child for 9 months.